My name is Evelyn, and if you've ever been pushed out of your own family, if you've ever been treated like a ghost while holding the very pieces that built their life, then you'll understand me. The day I stood behind that wooden fence and heard my daughter-in-law's voice say, "Why is she even still alive?" Something in me snapped. But I didn't storm out. I didn't cry. I made a decision. Stay with me through this story, because by the end, you'll see exactly how silence can cut deeper than shouting, and how a mother can reclaim everything she once gave away. Backhand index pointing right. Don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this will make you think twice about who really deserves a seat at your table. My name is Evelyn Hart. And I swear, I will never forget the sound of that laugh. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel in the obvious way. But it was sharp enough to slice through me, just after I'd heard the words that no mother should ever hear. Why is she even still alive? The voice belonged to Lila, my son's wife. I was standing behind the gate, holding a glass dish of warm peach cobbler. My hands didn't tremble yet. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was just awake. I pushed the gate open like nothing had happened. I walked past the string lights, past the picnic tables, past the faces that didn't even turn toward me. Some of them were my blood. Some were strangers. None smiled. "Oh, Evelyn," Lila said, eyes widening like I was a problem that had just walked in. "We didn't know you were coming." Her voice was the same one I'd heard whisper my obituary behind the fence. "I brought cobbler," I said, my voice steady. No one offered to take the dish. No one made space. I carried it myself to the far corner of the table and sat. The folding chair creaked under my back. I remembered when my son Daniel used to sit at my own kitchen table, legs too long for the chair, asking for help with math homework. Back then, he needed me. Now, he barely tolerated me. When he raised his beer and said, "To family," no one looked my way. Not even my grandchildren, who ran past me like I was invisible. No one remembered the gummy worms I used to sneak into their hands. No one remembered that I'd paid the down payment on the very house we were sitting in. By the end of the night, I had stacked plates, folded napkins, wiped tables, like a guest trying to earn her keep. When I finally picked up my empty dish, still warm from the sun, I left. Not in anger. Not in grief. But with a decision. The next morning, I made coffee in my smallest pot. Just 1 cup. At the same table where Daniel once colored with broken crayons. And I thought, I gave them everything. And in return, they erased me. I hadn't touched the old filing cabinet in years. But that day, I opened the drawer labeled Daniel, House. There it was. The purchase agreement. The deed. The letter I'd written in my own handwriting. "Because you're my son, no repayment needed." $40,000. My retirement savings. I had handed it over with love, expecting nothing, except a place in his life. I pressed my hand against the paper. It hurt more than I expected. That evening, I called Marjorie, a woman I'd met years ago at Bridge Club. She used to work in probate. Sharp as glass. "I have questions," I told her. "About gifts, property, and what a mother can still protect." She didn't ask why. Just said, "Bring everything tomorrow." Her house smelled of lemon cleaner and peppermint tea. She spread my papers across her desk, reading in silence. Finally, she looked at me. "You gifted it. No strings. The house is theirs." I nodded. I knew that. "But," she added, leaning closer, "that doesn't mean you're powerless. You can't take back what's gone, but you can control what's next." She gave me a checklist. Wills. Bank accounts. Powers of attorney. You decide who inherits your life. Not them. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, silence wrapping me like a blanket. I wrote one word on a blank page. Daniel. Then I drew a line straight through it. The next days were a quiet storm. I baked a blueberry pie, not to share. Just for me. I emptied the drawer I'd kept full of toys and stickers for the grandchildren. Every last thing went into the recycling bin. And when Daniel finally sent me a message, "Hey Mom, Lila didn't mean to upset you. Family gatherings can be tiring, you know?" I deleted it. No reply. No more saving excuses like souvenirs. Then came the locks. The bank accounts. The power of attorney revoked with one stroke of a pen. I wasn't trembling. I wasn't raging. This wasn't revenge. This was repair. When Lila left a voicemail saying, "We're worried about you, Ruby keeps asking where you are," I turned off the machine. Because I knew it was a lie. Ruby hadn't looked at me in months. Not on my birthday. Not even at the library when she'd walked right past me like I was a stranger. They weren't worried. They were unsettled. And there's a difference. On Thursday morning, I walked into Charles Whitman's office. An estate lawyer recommended by Marjorie. His receptionist offered coffee. I declined. "I want the house in a trust," I said. "No one in my family gets it. Not now. Not ever." Charles nodded. "A living trust is simple. You'll be trustee and beneficiary until you pass. Then it can go to whoever you choose." I slid a brochure across his desk. Greenway Women's Shelter. "I stayed there once, long ago," I told him. "They saved me before Daniel was born. They should have the house." His eyebrows lifted, but he didn't argue. "Then that's where it goes." 2 hours later, I left with a binder in my purse. My terms. My signature. My power. For the first time in years, I felt clean. That evening, Daniel showed up at my door. "Mom, please. Just talk to me." I sat on the couch, hands folded in my lap. I didn't open the door. His knock faded. His car pulled away. And in the silence that followed, I poured myself a cup of tea and whispered my mother's words. "If they don't hear you softly, they'll hear your silence louder." The next weekend, I walked through my house with a notepad. The dresser Daniel once refused. The cross-stitch from my sister. The curtains with little sailboats still hanging in his old room. Every corner held a story. But none of it would belong to the ones who had erased me. When the time came, the house would be sold. The money would save women like the one I once was, frightened, starting over, carrying a child on her hip with nowhere to go. That was my legacy. Not Daniel. Not Lila. Me. That night, I crossed out their names from my address book. Wrote new ones, neighbors, friends, people who saw me. And as I closed the book, I realized something. The next time someone asked, "Why is she even still alive?" the answer would be clear. I was alive. To reclaim everything I had given away too cheaply. And this time, no one could take it from me.